Today's February 1st, 2010. I think you know who I am, but let's just say my name is John Adams, and I am just a miner. And I've been working on this stuff now 4 or 5 years on a almost daily basis. Today I'm trying to get this camera. I dropped mine in the water a few weeks ago, and this one's on loan to me. Trying to help the owner figure out how to get videos and do things with videos. And so I'm out here in my shop. Going to show you this little rat rod, I'll call it, that I built. This is a 6.5 Briggs Intech Pro. Just got a couple hours on it. Briggs had a few come out last 5 years that would only run on half choke sometimes. It still run like it's full bore, but and this is one of those, and I traded a rebuilt T80 for it. It's brand new. It runs like a top. Every once in a while, though, it runs half the day on half choke. So right now, we're going to show you this. These are two identical volutes. That's what they're called. Keen might call them something else. But they are off of P150Hs. This one's from North Hollywood. And I do believe this one is the same, only it is when they started changing it. You can see a little bit different in the casting. It's had this pump output, which is really just a waste of time there, put on it, in this plastic thing. Again, you can see that these are the exact same. This is a 2.5 in, and it's 1.5 inches out, but it's got a 2-inch. Well, it's not a reducer. I can't think of the name right offhand, but the reason they do that is because a 2-inch lay flat, especially, or even 2-inch dredge pressure hose has less drag than 1.5 inches. The biggest difference, this pump and volute go together here. This came on a 5-horse Chrysler 2-cycle. Has a 3/8 inch shaft, and he was murdered, as you can see in my hand there, by his owner. This is a small impeller. These two impellers come from the same volute. This one put out a little bit more pressure, and this one had a little bit more balls in the engine, and he put out a bit more volume and probably about the same pressure. You can see the milling that was actually done then. And nowadays, Keen just lets your rocks do that. That's why they give you that big foot valve with the big square holes in it. So here's what I've done. This backing plate is an abortion. They always were. The belt, everything has to be so right in there to run air. It always drags. It's really a bad idea. A waste of aluminum. And the Keen 105s, I'm glad to say, were not used that long. All you had to do was add a couple washers and drill through there, as Keen learned later on. But of course, this one had these mountain holes, and it was just a waste of an abortion. This backing plate is one of the plastic ones. They're hard to find that are worthwhile. Right there, I'm going to show it with my finger. As soon as this bolt that you see right here in front gets a little loose, it'll vibrate that backing plate and wear it until it's unusable. If you ever see one that's starting to wear, what you can do is cut a little metal piece there and put on all three and give it a bumper. And it'll save that. It had the paper gasket. I believe that's a 180 on Keen's. A 5/8 shaft and a spacer. This is a Keen spacer. They're 1.76 thousandths. That was like a 180 or something from Keen, and it gave me a better tolerance. Here's what killed these all the time. Keen realized early on that if you shoved this foot valve part in farther, made it closer to this, and tighter, you'd get less blow-by and more pressure, and basically more volume too. What happens is people would pound them in and it would cut this slot. Now I put some epoxy on there first after stuffing it with paper, and then I put a piece of saran wrap in a bowl of crushed rice and formed that with Bondo. Now, he's not one that you're going to want to run real thick gravel. It's one of them old two-part impellers, but he's still in great shape. He's probably got 15 years left if he's not abused at all. This guy, same concept, but he fit up in here, right there on that lip, and he brought in 2.5 inches of water, as this one brought in 1.5 inches, a little less because of the thickness of that. So what I did was, and bear with me as I try to hold this new camera, I put this guy together and I adjusted him. You can't trust anything, especially if you've been around a while. These are parts that people have left here as I fixed their stuff. I tend to work on a lot of guys' stuff now in the evenings. Just I love to keep miners mining. So we get him on there. Fits real good. And then we took this volute, put up on there. So now I got that basically a pressure impeller on a volume volute. I filed that impeller a little bit, opened him up, but this engine has a lot more horsepower. Here's overhead cam and everything than the old 5-horse Briggs that these came on. So this big input, it's just going to give him as much water as he can throw out. I would say this little guy, as long as that impeller holds out, will be comparable to the P180. And I use a P180. He'll definitely run a 3-inch dryland dredge like we run now. Meaning that he'll run a blaster nozzle and a suction nozzle at the same time. I would probably even put him on my 4. Hopefully tomorrow or the next day we'll take this camera up and show you Liar's Gulch and get to see a 4-inch suction nozzle working in 2 or 3 inches of water. Excuse me. I don't know if I will actually show you the increment parts on YouTube because a lot of people make money off of that information, and I'm kind of selfish when people aren't really miners. So here we are. This is a test video. There's what I made, a rat rod. I'm estimating you'll put about 160 to 200 gallons a minute, and just about the same pressure as a P180. The only thing we won't be able to do with that impeller is run chunks of rocks up in there. It'll just cut that plastic to crap almost instantly. That's why they've all gone to aluminum impellers now. And this guy I'll just take and I'll find something that's just about that diameter, you know, a hole saw or something, and I'll use him to form him with JB weld and then maybe a ring on the outside to give him strength. And again, if you don't suck up big rocks and stuff, he'll last a long time. He's really a beefy little impeller. He'd probably dog down that 6.5 if we could give him 2.5, maybe 3 inches of intake water, so he has enough water to grab. But there we are today, and I don't think I have any gold sitting around, so we're at 8 minutes. I'll go in and try to change the file on this video and see if we get her uploaded tonight. Hope you enjoyed that. I doubt you learned anything, but it is what it is.